began with rain, as it always does, soft at first, then relentless. In southern China, skies opened for days, pouring torrents of water across mountains, valleys, and cities. Rivers that once meandered calmly surged upward, rising 2, 3, even 9 meters in mere hours. Reservoirs filled to bursting, their walls trembling under the unending assault. Engineers worked by floodlight, radios crackling with urgent warnings. Numbers glowed red on control panels, each one a death sentence waiting to be read. And yet in the villages and cities below, families clung to normal life. Children played inside while parents reassured themselves the dams would hold. But the night was thick, heavy, ghostly, a silence before collapse. The storm was not simply weather, it was an executioner sharpening its blade. Every drop of water added weight to a future already cracking. And across the ocean in Brazil, meteorologists stared at satellite maps, glowing crimson with rainfall, whispering that no dam could withstand such pressure. The world held its breath, unaware that the breaking point was only hours away. Shortly after midnight, the nightmare began. A deafening crack split the air as one dam gave way, then another. Concrete walls shattered, steel gates buckled, and a wall of black water surged forth with unimaginable power. Entire rivers were unleashed in minutes, crashing into towns downstream with the force of an earthquake. Streets became torrents, homes ripped from their foundations. In Bai, whole neighborhoods vanished under waves taller than houses. In Luzhu, highways crumbled and buses were swallowed whole, their headlights flickering before disappearing beneath the current. Families woke to chaos. Mothers screaming as water burst through doors, fathers clinging to rooftops with children in their arms. Lightning illuminated seas where once stood bustling districts. The flood was not a river anymore, it was a monster, alive and merciless, devouring everything. Within hours, cities were erased from maps. The dams, symbols of progress, had betrayed the people. The flood had no mercy, and the screams of the night echoed far beyond China. In Brazil, people watching the breaking news whispered in terror. What if this happened to us? By dawn, the scale of the disaster became horrifyingly clear. 620,000 people trapped. Entire districts cut off by walls of water. Villages turned into islands, cities into oceans. Helicopters hovered above seas of rooftops, spotlights searching for survivors, waving frantically with shirts, blankets, even bare hands. Rubber boats battled currents thick with debris, cars spinning like toys, trees uprooted, fragments of lives drifting endlessly. Rescue crews pulled the lucky onto boats, but for each one saved, dozens remained stranded. Radios crackled with desperate pleas. We're on the roof, the water is rising. Hospitals overflowed with the injured, morgues filled with the drowned. In shelters, children sat blankly, clutching waterlogged dolls or muddy books. 620,000, not just a number, but hundreds of thousands of human nightmares unfolding in real time. And yet the waters kept rising, rain still falling. The trapped were everywhere, in homes, in cars, in their own fear. Across Brazil, the number 620,000 struck like thunder. They had seen floods before, but never of this magnitude. It felt less like something like a ghostly prophecy waiting to cross the ocean. When the waters slowed and silence descended. Ghost, heavy, black. Streets lay caked in mud, broken houses sticking out like skeletons. Schools became tombs of death. Classrooms filled with water. Children kids floating lifelessly. Stadiums stood half submerged, their floodlights glowing eerily above black water like candles for the lost. Factories drowned, machines rusted under stagnant pools. Survivors stumbled through ruins, searching for fragments of their past. A wedding photo, a toy, a pair of shoes. Radios read names of the missing, each one a knife in the hearts of waiting families. In shelters, grief spread like a second flood. Mothers wept quietly, fathers sat hollow-eyed, children asked questions no one could answer. The aftermath was not only destruction, but erasure. Whole communities vanished as if they had never existed. And in Brazil, images of drowned towns and floating schools chilled the air. It was not just China's silence. It was a silence Brazilians recognized, the same ghostly quiet after their own disasters. Grief soon hardened into despair, and despair turned to anger. Survivors asked why the dams had been allowed to weaken, why warnings had been ignored, why maintenance delayed. Experts confirmed the unthinkable. The dams had been unsafe for years. The rain was heavy, yes, but negligence, corruption, and poor planning had made this disaster inevitable. People wept not only for loved ones lost, but for the betrayal of trust. Farmers who had believed the dams would protect their fields now stared at drowned crops and mud. Parents who buried children whispered curses at leaders who promised safety. In shelters, fury mingled with despair. This was not just nature's wrath, but human failure. It was betrayal by walls meant to protect, by leaders meant to prepare. Across Brazil, memories of their own dam failures, Mariana, Brumadinho, resurfaced. The betrayal in China felt hauntingly familiar. Brazilians trembled, knowing their own walls could betray them too. Their own leaders could fail, their own people could drown in silence. And then the ghostly truth emerged. China's flood was not China's alone. In Brazil, the reflection was too close, too chilling. They too had swollen rivers, fragile dams, sprawling cities built in floodplains. They too had endured neglect, corruption, broken promises. As they watched images of 620,000 trapped in China's nightmare, they saw themselves. Mothers in São Paulo saw their own faces in women clutching children on rooftops. Farmers in Minas Gerais saw their own fields in China's drowned farmlands. Children in Manaus saw their own schools in the floating classrooms of Guangxi. Brazil did not watch as a distant observer. It trembled as a witness to its own possible fate. The disaster became not just a story of China, but a ghostly prophecy for Brazil. And in that reflection, the silence was heavier than any scream.